Well, the Queen's death has reignited questions about the future of Scotland within the United Kingdom. In a 2014 referendum, Scotland voted against independence from the UK. But since Brexit, the country's First Minister has been pushing for a second vote. Sir John Curtice is Professor of Politics at the University of Strathclyde. I asked him whether the Queen's death would change Scotland's relationship with the monarchy.
That's rather difficult to tell. It's almost undoubtedly true that Queen Elizabeth had a personal popularity that may well indeed extend beyond support for the institution of the monarchy. And I think we certainly know enough about attitudes towards the monarchy as an institution to know that people's views are contingent. It's not a question of undying loyalty. The monarchy is valued when it does things well, like, for example, when the Queen visited Ireland in 2011 and shook hands with Martin McGuinness in 2012, then it seemed to be demonstrating its potential diplomatic value. On the other hand, on other occasions, such as, for example, the death of Diana, or indeed some of the more recent stories about Prince Andrew and the rift between Prince Harry and Prince William, that you can show has done damage to the reputation of the monarchy. So to that extent, at least, we don't know what's going to happen in future, but certainly the advice, I think, to the new King Charles will be to work pretty hard at trying to persuade people that the monarchy is indeed worthwhile, and perhaps try to reduce some of the damage that's certainly been inflicted relatively recently.
And how important do you think the royal family's connection to Scotland is in securing its status there?
Well, the truth is, there are two things we know about attitude towards the monarchy in Scotland. One is that the monarchy is less popular in Scotland, even when people were being asked this question while Queen Elizabeth was still alive. The monarchy is still less popular in Scotland than it is in England. The polling suggests that it's something like a 12-point difference. That said, the idea of having a monarchy is still more popular within Scotland than is the idea of changing to a republic. So the truth is that, it's a nuanced response. It's not as enthusiastic as it is south of the border. But yes, there is still considerable support for the monarchy, not least, of course, amongst those who would prefer Scotland to remain part of the United Kingdom.
Well, do you think that the end of Queen Elizabeth's reign and the start of King Charles's will have any effect on the likelihood of a second referendum and potentially the results of it?
I will be very surprised if the transition from Queen Elizabeth to King Charles will make a difference, or at least it's just going to automatically make a difference. Yes, it's true that a majority of those people who would vote yes to independence would prefer to have a republic rather than the monarchy, whereas the opposite is true of those who would support the union. But you then have to ask yourself, well, what do we think is the direction of causation here? Do we indeed think that people support the union because they support the monarchy? Or is it the case that people who support the union are more likely to support the monarchy? I would suggest to you that it's probably the second of those. If you think about it, how likely is it that somebody who thinks that independence will make Scotland better off, they don't like the fact that Scotland is having to leave the European Union, they don't feel British, that in those circumstances, that person is going to say, oh, but I do like Queen Elizabeth or I like King Charles, I am therefore still in favour of the Union. The odds of that being true are very unlikely. In contrast, it makes sense that somebody who feels British, thinks that independence will be economically disastrous and doesn't really mind too much about Brexit, that they are somebody who indeed support the union. And for them, the monarchy becomes an effective symbol of what they believe in. And occasions like this can help to reinforce their feelings. But it's a question of reinforcing the feelings of those who are already in support of the union, rather than something that's likely to change the views of those who at the moment already feel that Scotland should be an independent country.